Over the past week, I learned animation. Today, I'll be going over what animation is, the different types of animation, and if I accomplished my animation goal of a walking red panda. Hey, it's CK, and welcome back to 52 Skills in 52 Weeks. This week was animation. In continuation of last week doing pixel art, I set out on a goal to create an animated red panda. This red panda was just meant to walk, and in my efforts of learning pixel art, I now have the tools to be able to create that red panda walking. Now before we jump into if I did accomplish that goal, what is animation? Animation is the process of creating the illusion of movement through rapidly displaying images, models, or drawings in rapid succession that makes them appear to move over time. Where animation really stems from is with cartoons. A lot of the old Disney movies were made by hand. Each single scene was drawn by hand and colored by hand, and it made up what the movies that you saw. Or even simpler, Steamboat Mickey is a perfect example of a hand-drawn old age era of cartoons where each frame, each movement was hand-drawn by a person. In its simplest form, let's take a flip book, for example. You would take a stack of post-it notes that are still together, and you can draw a different image on each one, and then when you play them quickly back together, you can see, like, let's say in my example here, a ball moving and bouncing away. This ties in with, say, future animation of either 2D or 3D animation that is created on a computer. Sketches that are made on digital art, and then you make them move over time, or with 3D art like with Blender. Then you can move to stop motion, which is utilizing photographs instead, where each photograph in quick succession in order create movement similar to, let's say, Nightmare Before Christmas or Wallace and Gromit. Those were famous stop motion animations. You can call them claymations because they were used using clay and then they move slowly over time. But you can even do this with, like, let's say, an action figure if you wanted to. Then, in its own way, film like this is also animation. Because when it comes to videos and the creation of videos, it's using frames per second. Most videos are done in 24 frames per second, which means that there's 24 photos showing at one time each second. And the reason for that is because once you're seeing it in 24 frames per second, the hand movement like this, where it gets blurry right here, looks more natural, like a human eye. So that's why people usually use 24 frames per second. And then they can use 30 frames per second for smoother movement, or even go up to 60 or 120 frames per second for slowing things down and getting really good slow motion shots. So coming back to this past week, I was doing pixel art. And in pixel art, I was trying to create a red panda that was walking because I wasn't able to get one through a commission. We ended last week with me creating different red pandas and getting better over time with the red pandas and getting our feet wet a little bit with animation. But this week, I really focused on animation. And the reason it took me a whole week to do this was because I was, one, learning animation, two, relearning some pixel art things through a course from Reese, and three, I just wanted to get it right. I wanted to have it look good by the end of it. And animation is a lot of work. It's really making sure that there's consistency in the shadows and the shading, and I think I made it more complicated on myself with the size I was using. Someone from last week's video recommended that I use 16 by 16 or 32 by 32 pixels next time, and I will moving forward, but I made the mistake of using 64 by 128 at first, thinking that it wouldn't be that bad and it was still small enough, but I ended up working on that for a while, making a couple of frames of movement, and then getting really frustrated with the amount of detail that it needed, that I moved it down to 32 by 64, so that way it was a lot easier to work with the coloring, with the shading, and the consistency of the arms, tail, and head. And that took me hours. I mean, I was working on this outside of work alongside with 2 birthdays that I had to celebrate over the weekend, so I wasn't really at my computer as much as I wanted to be. But after a lot of hard work and consistency and trying to get the details down, I finally made it. Now, it is a little scuffed looking. I probably should have done the head movement as much as I did. Probably should have done more simple head movement. But the hardest part was getting those legs. The legs to be consistent, to make it look like a red panda walking. I even used a different drawing that I found online of a red panda walking and kind of mimic that with the red panda that I made. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think that I now have a good understanding of choosing my colors wisely, choosing my shading wisely, and choosing the direction and animations that I want to go for. I think I'm going to scale down to 32 by 32 or 16 by 16 for the next few weeks while I'm trying to do another skill, and just see if we can create something that's more consistent and easier to create many different kinds of animation for. Either way, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my journey of learning animation over the past week. If you have any tips for me, please leave them in the comments down below. I really would love any kind of help with getting better at animation or making the process simpler. Along with this, thank you so much for everyone that's been commenting and subscribing and liking my videos. It really means a lot. I've really close to 200 subscribers now, and just want to thank you all for just joining this journey. It's been a fun time doing these 11 weeks now, and it's just passing by in a blur. 52 is going to come before I know it, and I'm already at 11, which I'm shocked about because I've usually dropped things after a month. And creating this consistency, having people commenting, having people coming back or looking at my other videos, I really appreciate it. I'm really trying to find myself through these 52 weeks, trying to find the kind of things I want to do, and I don't know, maybe I'll end up going past these 52 weeks. Who really knows? Life is just a big surprise, and you guys have surprised me by consistently helping me out with this stuff. Either way, thank you again. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next week with the next skill. Bye.